This is the story of a people who have taken their destiny into their own hands, building their own world, their own republic where they're not dependent on any system, whether government or individuals, for their sustenance, happiness, growth, and success in life. Though this group of people has been heavily criticized and viewed in a negative light as being racist and segregationist in their mission, they present a strong challenge that any individual or group desiring a brighter future and many good days must learn from. Make yourself comfortable as we explore the life and story of these remarkable people, the Oranians. Orania, nestled along the banks of the Orange River in South Africa's Northern Cape Province. Is a town that has become a focal point of intense debate and scrutiny. The name Orania is a combination of orange, the Dutch word for orange, and crag, the Afrikaans word for power.
Afrikaner history is not very popular in South Africa. Lots of our monuments and things for our past get vandalized, get destroyed, or just simply are not being taken care of. So we have a lot of busts here that we didn't make or buy. It is either donated or thrown away somewhere else and we rescued it. The symbolism here being that we created a half circle of all the busts from history, from our past. We put it in a half circle. They're a bit back, a bit behind. All of them, none of them are alive anymore. None of them are active participants in history anymore. They are in the past, but they are part of our past. The good and the bad and everything is part of our past.
Established in 1991 during the waning years of apartheid, Orania was conceived as a sanctuary for Afrikaners, a subgroup of white South Africans of Dutch, French, and German descent who arrived at the Cape of Good Hope by boat in the year 1652, aiming to preserve their cultural heritage and maintain self-governance in a rapidly transforming nation. However, this pursuit has manifested in the form of a racially exclusive enclave, effectively segregating black South Africans and igniting discussions about racial division and land ownership in post-apartheid South Africa. But who really are these people known as Afrikaners? One might be tempted to assume they are of black African descent, but this is far from the truth.
Afrikaners simply are the descendants of the earlier Dutch settlers who were the first whites to arrive in southern Africa beginning in 1652. They have been augmented somewhat by Germans and other white immigrant groups that chose not to become so-called the English. Afrikaners speak the language Afrikaans, which is itself a derivative or an evolution from the Dutch language. Since the time of the Anglo-Boer War at the turn of the 19th to the 20th centuries, a war which the Boers in the end lost, there has been a quite fierce national-minded sentiment within not all Afrikaners, but many. The Afrikaners are roughly 60% of the total white population. The whites are about 10% of the total population. So because of the nature of the electoral system, which in the period 1910 to 1990 only allowed, with some very few exceptions, whites to vote, they were able to be in power. And it was because of the power they had and the way they exercised it that apartheid came into existence. and gave the whole issue the structure that defined it for a very long period of time.
So, the inception of Orania can be traced back to this group of Afrikaners who, apprehensive about the impending dismantling of apartheid and the transition to majority rule, sought to create a stronghold for their cultural identity. They purchased a dilapidated town and embarked on building a community grounded in Afrikaner traditions, language, and self-reliance. Central to Orania's philosophy is the concept of selfwerkzaamheid, or self-reliance, wherein all labor, from administrative roles to manual tasks, is performed exclusively by Afrikaners.
In front of them, overlooking the town, being able to see over the horizon of this hill, is the small giant, Kleine Reus. And if you can see, he's a young boy, he's still young, but he represents the idea that he is full of opportunity, full of potential. Although young, he has got gigantic potential, and he's rolling up his sleeve. You also find him on our flag. You know, Orania has created a new flag. We are not stuck in the past, but we're also not very comfortable in South Africa as it is. We want to create a space where we can truly be comfortable, be our space. And so we created our own flag, and the symbolism is rolling up your sleeves. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to give you a future. You can only have what you can work and create yourself through the grace of God. So rolling up your sleeves and creating your future yourself. If you are scared about the future, create it.
This principle is intended to foster self-sufficiency, but has also resulted in the exclusion of non-Afrikaner individuals from residing or working in the town.
I'm in love with Orania.
Yeah.
Can I stay in here?
You're not Afrikaner.
Orania's population policies have been a subject of contention. The town enforces a strict admission process, requiring prospective residents to demonstrate Afrikaner heritage, fluency in Afrikaans, and alignment with the community's values.
First and most important is you have to be a white Afrikaner. Afrikaners are descendants of Dutch settlers who played a key role in establishing and enforcing apartheid. You also need to be a Calvinist Christian, have a clean criminal record, and speak Afrikaans only within the enclave.
This vetting process has culminated in a homogeneous population, with no black South Africans permitted to live or work within its borders. Critics argue that this exclusivity perpetuates racial segregation reminiscent of apartheid-era practices, undermining the ideals of a unified, diverse nation. This community operates largely independently from the rest of South Africa.
Orania.
What is happening? Can somebody answer?
Section 235 of the South African Constitution acknowledges the right of cultural groups to self-determination. But what about the Afrikaner enclave of Orania, which also uses race to determine who can be allowed to live in that community?
Proponents of Orania assert that the town serves as a bastion for preserving Afrikaner culture, language, and traditions in an environment where they feel increasingly marginalized. They contend that their intent is not to resurrect apartheid, but to maintain their cultural identity through self-determination. The town operates its own government and institutions, including schools, the local currency called the Ora, and municipal services and busnieuses, all managed by Afrikaners.
Orania is a relatively small community of about 3,000 people, but they have big ambitions and are growing fast. They have their own local government, currency, flag, college, farms, a bank, and their own rules. Critics call them racists, but supporters say it's a place for cultural preservation and self-determination. This has sparked heated debates about Orania's place in modern-day South Africa.
This insularity, however, has been perceived by many as a deliberate effort to isolate and exclude, fostering division rather than integration. The existence of Orania has elicited varied reactions both within South Africa and globally. Some view it as a legitimate exercise in cultural preservation and self-governance, while others see it as an anachronistic enclave that contradicts the principles of equality and inclusivity enshrined in South Africa's constitution. Notably, former President Nelson Mandela visited Orania in 1995, a gesture interpreted by some as an endorsement of dialogue and reconciliation. Same visit was repeated by President Thabo Mbeki, and this raised lots of disapproval by the South African population. Conversely, numerous media outlets and observers have criticized the town for perpetuating racial exclusivity and undermining national unity. Orania's model raises critical questions about land ownership, minority rights, and social cohesion in a post-apartheid context. The town's approach to self-determination and cultural preservation, while lawful, challenges the broader national efforts toward integration and redress of historical injustices. The deliberate exclusion of Black South Africans from Orania not only reinforces racial divisions, but also ignites debates about the equitable distribution of land and resources, a contentious issue given South Africa's history of dispossession and inequality.
White South Africans make up about 8% of the population, but they hold about 3/4 of privately owned land in the country. In contrast, only 4% of privately held land is owned by Black South Africans, who make up nearly 80% of the country's 60 million residents.
Last month, President Cyril Ramaphosa signed into law a bill that allows the government to expropriate property for public purposes or in the public interest, in some cases without compensation.
Orania stands as a microcosm of the complexities inherent in balancing cultural preservation with the imperatives of national unity and social justice. While the town's residents advocate for their right to self-determination, the exclusionary practices employed raise profound ethical and societal questions. As South Africa continues to navigate its multifaceted identity, the discourse surrounding Orania underscores the ongoing challenges in reconciling a diverse cultural tapestry with the principles of inclusivity and equality. Though the resolve of these people is facing numerous legal challenges and criticism, we can still see a ray of light that gives hope to any individual or group. It is the resilient spirit that says, never give up. You can create your own paradise where everything you need is within your reach because it is found within you. These people, though small in population, about 3,000, are rugged and determined, working hard to create the kind of community they desire. They are a true definition of hard work never kills. Their economy is primarily based on agriculture, and their greatest goal is to build a farm city powered by uninterrupted electricity and with fewer or no crime rate.
Do you guys export this?
Yes. So we'll sell it outside. It brings money into our economy. Another interesting thing, obviously, is that here we can do something that a lot of farmers can't do, and that is we can plant 2 harvests in 1 year. So we plant the wheat in the summer. Just before Christmas, this is harvested. It's plowed very quickly, and the farmers work 20 hours a day to get it done. They harvest, they plow, they plant, and then it's maize. So your next harvest is maize, and you harvest that in the winter. In June, July, and when that goes out, you've got a short time to put in the wheat again. So
all the farmers live in Orania.
Obviously, there's farms surrounding Orania as well. This is an Orania farmer, this one.
So who owns this farm?
An individual farmer owns it. It is part of Orania, but an individual farmer owns this land, and the farmer works it for their own benefit and revenue and takes the risks for themselves.
Orania can't be a folk state. It is actually what I consider to be a micronation. It's just like a small, considered, it has certain independencies. They have their own currency.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, when I picked up on that, I realized that there's a measure of sovereignty that is not complete.
Yes.
Watching now, we know you may have your reservations about these people, whether likes or dislikes. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section.
Where some say apartheid lives on.
Orania is a whites-only town. Black people cannot live or work here. Every job is reserved for the whites.
Do I believe that places like Orania should exist? No. Do I believe that Orania is racist? Of course. Those are the bad things, but there's also good things happening in Orania.
One thing we want you to take away from this video is this. There is nothing you set your heart on doing or achieving, especially something good and worthy of praise, that you cannot make happen. All things are possible if only you believe.
Do you have a school in here?
We have two high schools, primary and secondary, and then we also have a college, tertiary training. We are dreaming to build our own Afrikaans university.
And you teach in Afrikaans?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Everything we do is Afrikaans. And studies show that children who are taught in their mother tongue perform better than children who are taught in another language. Like
are you against the educational system in South Africa?
Well, I'm definitely against the Bala law that's currently being implemented.
What is that?
That is a law that gives the state control of the schools rather than the parents of the schools. So we're very much against that. I think it's the state grabbing the power of schools, taking away people's rights. There's a lot of religious issues with that. There's lots of cultural issues with that. So South Africans are actually very angry about that. That's why the schools that we built here, we get zero state funding. We don't get a cent from the government. And it's also not expensive. So all the extra money that we need for our schools, we have to raise with projects.
So does it mean that like all the people that study in this school are from Orania? Do you get people out of Orania?
No, just, surrounding farms and so on also come here. And then the college, tertiary training, people from around the country also come to study here.
You can study here, but you can't live in here.
Well, they can. All of them can apply for the right to citizenship in Orania, definitely.
Citizenship? You have a college in Orania?
We identified the need to train our people in physical skills. Plumbing, electrical work and masonry to build houses, and that's called the skills. And that's why we started the college. In 2019 we had only 5 students, 2020 50, and now there's about 124. We're expecting more than 200 next year.
One of the most unique aspects of Orania is its currency, the ora. Interestingly, the ora isn't a real currency at all. It's actually a coupon that is backed by the South African rand. Residents use the ora for transactions within the town, while the rands that back these auras are kept in a bank, accruing interest. This interest is then reinvested into training entrepreneurs and funding local businesses, which strengthens their local economy. The ora also serves as a safety measure. If anyone tries to rob a shop in Orania, they will end up leaving with worthless coupons. Additionally, the ora has become a popular souvenir. Tourists will pay the rand equivalent of the ora they want. If a tourist wants a 200 ora note, they will pay 200 rand, making it a clever way for the town to generate extra revenue.
Never talk down on yourself or your abilities. There's a seed of greatness in you. Rise up and awaken that seed. You could be better than you are now. Strengthen yourself, be courageous, and put your hands to work. The sky is only your starting point. Remain cheerful, stay positive, arise, and recreate your paradise. If you found value in this content, kindly click the subscribe and like buttons. Don't forget to hit the notification bell and share this content with others. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.